The boy's cries echoed across the schoolyard. Small, fragile, and pushing his wheelchair forward with shaky arms, he was surrounded by a circle of sneering kids. Their laughter was sharp, cruel, cutting deeper than any punch could. And then, out of nowhere, a man's voice broke through. Strong. Steady. Unshakable. Enough. Heads turned. Standing there wasn't a teacher, or a principal, but a tall man with a weathered face and the kind of quiet strength you could only earn through years of hardship. His clothes were simple. His shoes worn. But the way he carried himself made every bully in that circle take a nervous step back. His name was Jack. A single dad. A veteran who'd seen battlefields most of us couldn't imagine, and who now worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table for his little girl. Jack didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply knelt down beside the boy in the wheelchair, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, and looked the bullies dead in the eyes. You think strength is making someone weaker? No. Real strength is protecting those who can't fight back. So if you're looking for someone to push around... He paused, his gaze unflinching. You push me. Silence. The kids scattered, muttering excuses, suddenly ashamed. The boy's trembling stopped. He looked up at Jack, eyes wide, a mixture of relief and disbelief. And that's when she stepped forward. No one noticed her at first. She had been watching from the edge of the crowd, elegant, composed, with the kind of grace that turned heads without even trying. But behind the tailored coat and designer sunglasses was something raw, a mother's fear, a mother's pain. The boy in the wheelchair? Her son. And she? She was no ordinary parent. She was Elizabeth Carson, one of the most influential business leaders in the country. A billionaire whose name was whispered in boardrooms across New York and London. But in that moment, she wasn't a mogul. She was just a mom, watching a stranger defend the one person she loved most. Her steps quickened. Wait! She called out. Jack turned, almost apologetic. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I just couldn't stand by. Elizabeth's eyes softened. You didn't cause a scene. You reminded me what courage really looks like. Jack shifted awkwardly, unused to praise. Any decent person would have done the same. But Elizabeth shook her head. No. Most people look away. You didn't. There was a pause, one of those moments heavy with unspoken truth. Jack started to walk away, but Elizabeth's voice stopped him cold. What's your name? Jack. And your daughter's name? Emily. She's 9. Elizabeth's gaze lingered, and something in her expression shifted, like a decision had just been made in her heart. The next day, Jack received a call that changed everything. It wasn't from his boss. It wasn't from a friend. It was from Elizabeth Carson herself. Jack, she said, you may not realize this, but yesterday you didn't just defend my son. You showed me something money can't buy. And I want to repay that, not with a check, but with a chance. A chance. Elizabeth explained that her company had a program, one designed for veterans, but never fully brought to life. I want you to lead it, she told him. I'll provide the resources. The platform. But the heart, the leadership, that has to come from someone like you. Jack was stunned. He had gone from barely scraping by to being trusted with building something that could help hundreds of veterans like him find jobs, purpose, dignity. But there was more. Elizabeth's son, inspired by what happened, asked if he could meet Emily. When the 2 children finally sat together, one in a wheelchair, one shyly clutching her worn-out backpack, they laughed like old friends. Barriers disappeared. For them, there was no billionaire's son or veteran's daughter. Just 2 kids who saw kindness where the world had given them pain. Months later, Jack stood on a stage, his daughter and Elizabeth's son cheering in the front row. Behind him, a banner read, Operation New Start, a future for veterans. The room was filled with people, veterans, families, business leaders, reporters. But Jack didn't see them. He only saw 2 kids smiling, 2 lives made brighter because one act of kindness had rippled outward. He took a breath and said into the microphone, "I used to think I was just surviving. But that day, when I stepped in to defend a boy, I realized something. Kindness isn't weakness, it's the greatest strength we have. And when we choose to stand up for one another, we don't just change one life. We change the world." The crowd rose to their feet. Applause thundered. Elizabeth, watching from the side, had tears in her eyes. She knew she had wealth. She had influence. But it was Jack, the single dad veteran, who reminded her of the one truth that outshines all success. That sometimes, the smallest act of courage can ignite the biggest transformation. And so, what began as a moment in a schoolyard became a movement, proof that humanity, compassion, and selflessness are worth more than all the money in the world. Because in the end, it wasn't about a billionaire or a veteran. It was about ordinary people choosing to do the extraordinary, simply by caring. Sparkle's kindness is strength. And strength can change everything.